Sweet. We are now connected. Ah, had a late start. Had a late start, but we're here. No worries. Welcome to About 10 Art. My name is Lazaro Gomez, and this is the Friday night live stream. So today we're doing a bit of a continuation from the Ash Pop that we did last week. So last week I had a custom Funko Pop and we bloodied it up, and I showed the techniques that we used to do some weathering and stuff like that, and kind of give it that grimy look. We also splattered blood all over him, and then of course we're going to build I guess a stand for these boxes. So basically, this box here is designed to house a pop figure, but inside the box. And what I did is I just kind of took it apart and created my own stand, I guess, for the actual figure. And it's just gonna be inside this box without the pop box. So I'm gonna go grab the Ash Pop real quick because we're gonna need him tonight. But before I do that, I just want to say that tonight we'll be working with Scopy Original, and I'll be showing you a couple of things and talking about that. So let me grab the pop. I'll grab it. All right. A little bit of music. A little bit of music.
You have to spend. It's what you're capturing in.
Ads.
The wealthiest people in the protectorate.
Can't get mad at ads. Alright, there we go. Here's a little music. I like to have, like something in the background while I'm working. But anyways, so this is the Ash Pop, and as you can see, he's all bloodied up and nasty inside the box. But like I mentioned before, these boxes, I know that ThinkGeek makes it, and then also Funko makes their own. But basically, it's designed to house your pop inside the box inside here. So usually a lot of people just have it this way, and I mean, it's it's okay, I guess. But I like to take it a step further and make it something interesting to look at. So it has a top and a bottom, of course. The bottom goes there, the top goes there, and it kind of seals it all in. And what I did is, for the sake of the live stream, I already created one that fits in here perfect, using Scopy and all that good stuff. So it's already primed and ready, and it's sitting right here. But before we go into that, I want to kind of show you how I went about doing it. So of course, we use this to kind of stamp out the area that we need on the clay, and then we can add texture. We could add rocks and organic materials and stuff like that. So I know that last week I had mentioned that we were going to be doing some molding and molding with Umu 25, and then also using resin to create this sort of stuff. But there's been a slight change of plan, because the reason why I changed up the plan is because we can get away with just doing the stand out of polymer clay, of course, which is this stuff here, Scopy, and we don't have to mold it. We don't have to do any of that stuff. And plus, I want to save that process for the next project that I'm thinking of doing, and it's Skyrim related. We'll be doing that one next week, and of course I can have a bit of a reveal. So I've been playing Skyrim. I really enjoy it, and they have like these 9 factions, and each faction has a shield with a symbol on it and stuff like that. And I thought it would be kind of cool to kind of create those in miniature format and serve as cup holders. Now, of course, I've seen them all over Etsy. I've seen them on Pinterest. I've seen them everywhere online. So there are people that do make these, and they sell them and stuff like that. But I kind of wanted to make my own and see what I can do with it. And then also, since we're making molds out of them, we can have blanks, so that perhaps maybe myself or you guys can do your own emblem and kind of have your own thing. I don't know if that's something that you're interested in, but next week I'm going to show you how to create it, how to mold it, basically like from the ground up. So molding or sculpting with clay, then creating the mold using Umu 25, and then of course casting using resin. So I thought it was a neat exercise. You guys can kind of see how that process works, and then you could either follow along in the video, or you can reach out to me, and if you want to buy a blank or something, I could ship it out to you, or I don't know, maybe you can buy your own online and then retrofit it the way that you want to, or I don't know. I have no idea. I have no idea. I just know that it's a cool project. It's something that I wanted to do. I have something else in mind that's going to be some gifts for some of my friends that is also Skyrim-ish related, or an item that could exist in that world. So, and it deals with a lot of the same kind of principles, but this is more of prop making or traditional prop making using casting and molding tools. So without further ado, we're going to flip the camera. I'm going to go right into it and kind of get all that going. I'll see if anybody's in the chat to see if if they want to hang out or whatnot. But just like we always do, we kind of wind down a busy week. I know all of us, of course, work, and we got bills to pay. So of course, I just want I want the live stream to be a cool hangout, and that's what we always do. So if you're new to the live stream, then I say welcome. If you like, hit subscribe and ding the bell. That way you get notifications as to when we go live. But other than that, yeah, man, just sit back, relax, and enjoy. Hi. And for those who don't know, I go for about an hour. Depending on the project, sometimes we break up the project into multiple videos, so like multiple weeks and stuff like that. But like I said, I kind of bought us some time, and we should be able to complete this project in this live stream. At least I'm hoping. I always say that, and then we run out of time or whatnot. But we kind of started at 8:30 or something like that. We've been going for about 7 minutes. So I'll make sure that we cover the entire hour. So let's go ahead and flip that camera, and we're gonna get back to work. All right, so this is my work area here, and we're gonna, let's see, make some clever adjustments. So usually when I'm working with this sort of material, it's kind of important to keep a clean, a clean area that you can kind of manipulate the clay and all that good stuff, but also not make a giant mess. So usually what I do is I'll use my cutting board, and it's just typical Fiskars. You can get this, or Fiskars. You can get this at Walmart or Joann Fabrics, Michaels, Hobby Lobby, whatever store that you choose, you can get one of these. This particular one, I got it at Walmart, and so it works for me. So we got to take our ash out of the box because we're going to be using him. We're going to be using him to mark on the clay where he'll be standing. So if you missed last week, we did this lovely mess. And we're going to be using him to kind of mark on the clay. You'll be seeing that soon. But let's get into the clay. So this is Sculpey Original. It comes in white. Usually I get like 1 pound. 1 pound is enough to do pretty much any project. And for this particular one, I used, I want to say, about half of it. So there's still about half. Yeah, there's about, well, it usually comes like 5 layers of clay. So I used 2 layers. Or no, I take that back. It's usually 6, and I use 3. So yeah, I used half of the material to create that, and I still had some left over. And what I do with the leftovers is I usually put it in a bag just like this one to, you know, to seal it up and kind of protect it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use some leftovers from the private commission that I've been working on. And so we're gonna use this right on top of this aluminum foil. And the reason why I model everything on top of the aluminum foil is because it won't stick to this surface here, and it's easier to put in the oven, because usually what you do is you cook this stuff about 15 minutes in the oven, and the instructions are all back here. But yeah, it tells you, you know, start with a clean surface, and usually you bake it out 15 minutes at 275, depending on the thickness of the clay that you want to use. So this usually goes in for about 16 minutes and it's done. So we're gonna go ahead and use that. Other materials that I picked up over, if you have a Harbor Freight around you, you could pick up these nifty tools. Of course, they're not used for clay modeling, but I use them. And so you have you know, different tools with different heads on them, and you know, they're really good for sculpting and adding texture to the clay and things of that nature. And like I said, they're not made for this sort of stuff, but I kind of picked it up along the way and added it to my other sculpting tools. So they work out really, really well. And you can get them at Harbor Freight. They're like $2.99. So it's a great deal for this sort of stuff. And then of course we have here some Q-tips, and what I use the Q-tips for is I combine that with just regular old rubbing alcohol, and you can smooth out areas and stuff like that. So like I said, I use Sculpey, original Sculpey, which is white. You also have Sculpey 2, or more of a polymer type clay. This is harder clay. They use these on like stop motion animations and things like that. But this is actually better for when you're creating props or jewelry or something like that for cosplay. You would use this kind of clay here. It's a lot smoother. It doesn't leave any fingerprints and stuff like that, like the Sculpey does. And also it's a lot less malleable. The original Sculpey is really soft, and it's very, you know, it's very malleable, and you can shape things out, and you can do a lot more. I guess you can model a lot easier with this stuff, but the only problem is that of course it'll leave fingerprints indented into the clay that you have to rub out with the alcohol or sand down once you've cooked this material. So yeah, you know, I start with a decent amount. I'm not going to I'm not going to go higher than what this is. So basically we're looking at maybe 1/8 of an inch of material that we're going to be using. And it kind of saves you on materials and stuff like that, and you could always build on top of it. So what you want to do is you want to start off with a flat layer and then kind of build everything on top of that. And for this project, you know, the ground, I just kind of filled it with pock marks and stuff like that and kind of made it look like a ground. And then I used some more clay to kind of, you know, model out some little rocks just like this. And I'll show that process here in a minute. So what you want to do is, if you have this sitting around for a while, is you want to get it moving. You want to kind of introduce a little bit of air into the mixture and push out bubbles, like air bubbles and air pockets, and just kind of get it malleable, get it warm, and then you'll be ready to model. So here we go. And see, right away you can see that it's stuck to the aluminum, and that's what you don't want to happen here. You don't want this material to stick here, because then it's hard to take it out. So you want to make sure that you're working on your aluminum, so then you could just carry it out, put it in the oven, and then bring it back. So that's what you want to do. You never want to put it on that surface. So I got this pencil pencil case that I use to kind of flatten things out. I'm gonna buy myself a plastic dowel rod that'll help me when I'm doing modeling and stuff like that. But for this particular case, anything cylindrical just like this, you could also use, you know, Mod Podge. That'll work too. We could actually just roll it out with the Mod Podge and just kind of flatten it out. Or if you want to use, you know, this pencil case, you can do that as well. But like I said, anything cylindrical will work on this. And the idea is just to get, you know, a flat surface as much as you can. And if you need to add more clay to it, you can. But that's usually what I do. So here we go. It's like pizza dough. And then of course you can kind of gauge, you know, you can gauge how much you need. Of course, there you can see that we're missing on some of the corners, so you could always add more clay to it. And that's what we're going to do. So I got my other reserve clay. And when you're introducing them, of course, you're gonna have to do the same thing, kind of introduce air into it. You're gonna have to warm it up and just add clay where you need it. So I just break off a chunk, and you know, you can see it's kind of all chalky and stuff like that. That's usually the moisture coming out of it. But once you start working the clay again, you're introducing air into it, and it starts getting malleable once again. Now I know that if you leave it out for too long, it will dry up completely and then it'll be useless. But I have brought these back from a long time of storage. Actually, this particular piece is I want to say about a year old, and then this is newer stuff that I purchased this week. All right, where are my chat people? Let me refresh real quick. Here we go. Hola. Hola, everybody. Alright, I got the chat open so now I can see. Very cool. Alright, here we go. So then of course I needed, you know, I needed a piece over here on the corners. And, you know, you just add it that way. And let's give ourselves a bit more breathing room. There we go. And again, I'm not too concerned with, you know, how flat it is, because I'll be adding a lot more material to this as we go along. So right now I'm just kind of blending it, you know, getting it where I need it to go. And for the most part, it's pretty much flat anyway, so you're good to go there. And then now, of course, you could see, you know, you can see where it is that you need to add material or take away material. So at this point, I'm pretty satisfied with that. And that's gonna be our area. So you just simply push down. And then you can start removing some of the clay. Don't worry about dirtying up the plastic box, because you could always clean it later on. So you can see how much material is actually coming back to you once you've established that bottom part, or that flat base. You saw how much material came back to you, and that's what you're going to use to like create rocks and different types of things that you want to simulate. In this particular case for Ash, if you watch the show, a lot of the things that happen in a log cabin out in the woods. So I want to recreate that environment. So the ground is going to be real rough. It's going to be, you know, full of rocks and leaves and dead material, dead organic material like trees and stuff like that. So that's what we're going to be adding to this once we have our surface. So you can do this one of two ways. You can get this flat surface now and actually bake it, and then add more to it and bake it again and keep adding if you wanted to add like leaves and rocks and stuff like that. But I kind of like to do everything all at once. And so what I did is I just, from this point on, took this box out, or removed the box from here, and then just kept modeling on top of that. So that's what we're going to do now. That's what we're going to do. There we go. So there's our surface. And of course, the first thing we want to do is we want to see how Ash is going to fit in this environment. So I'm guessing that he's going to be kind of in the middle, or pressed a little bit forward, and then kind of have him angled a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press down, and that's going to give me the indentation of where the pop figure is gonna sit. So hopefully we can get him out. There we go. And right there you can see where the feet are indented, and that's where the pop figure is gonna fit. So I wanna have a visual representation of where it is that he's gonna be standing. That way I can kind of know as I'm modeling and doing stuff where it's gonna be. So alright, we can kind of close this up a little bit. There we go. And you're always going to have on the edges, you're going to have like a residual small piece of clay, but when you bake it, it's going to get hard. This is going to solidify, and you can kind of just break it off with your thumb. If not, you could use different kinds of sandpaper. I use everything from 500 to 20, I believe 1200, which the higher the number, the smoother is the sandpaper, but it'll get rid of all of that stuff real quick. You could also use a Dremel as well, but I think the Dremel is a bit too aggressive for this kind of project. So so just take your time, use sandpaper and stuff like that. If you don't have sandpaper, you could also use nail files, and that'll help you out as well. Well, there we go. We kind of closed up our work area a little bit, and that's what we got so far. So let's zoom in just a little bit so you can kind of see what I'm doing. And that's the platform. That's the stand where he's going to be on. So right now what I want to do is I want to add some organic materials, of course. And, you know, it doesn't have to be all that great. Just, you know, a rough shape, because the problem is that you're going to have fingerprints on that. As you can see, my fingerprints are all over this clay. So we're going to be smoothing that out. But right now it's just a matter of placement and what it is that you want, you know, where it is that you want this stuff to go. So I was thinking of putting some rocks kind of here in front of him, and then some bigger rocks here. I also picked up some organic material from outside. Like I got some branches and stuff like that. That'll be like logs that are laying down. So I'll add those, of course, once we paint this particular piece right here. So we're gonna go ahead and start adding some rocks and pebbles, and just real simple shapes. Place them down where you want them to go, and just kind of, you could do all of the shaping later on with the clay tools that you have. So kind of break it up a little bit, maybe have that there. And you just kind of, you keep adding from there. You just keep adding different rocks and pebbles and stuff that, where you think you want it to be. And of course your ash will be standing right there, so it kind of gives it the illusion of ground coverage. Another thing I like to do is to pinch off small pieces just like that and kind of lay them about here and there, because when you're out in nature you do find a lot of rocks and just things lying around. You want it to be kind of random, but not random, but kind of organized at the same time. Nothing in nature is truly perfect. So that's kind of the idea that we're going with here. And I think I want to add a bigger rock here on this side. So that's kind of the idea there. Just, a forest area. A foresty area with stones and stuff like that, because it does take place in a log cabin. And the cool thing is that once you have this down, you can change it and rearrange it and do it however you want. It's also a good idea if you wanted to go the other route of just like baking the flat surface and making a mold of it, and then you could keep adding different things. That works as well. So now the handy dandy tools. And like I said, these are really great because if you go to Michael's or anything like that, they have a set, and it's like $16, and it's all wood tools just like this one, and you get a couple of scrapers that look just like this. But I found that these kinds of materials tend to break and chip off real easy. I've lost a splinter there. So I'm kind of moving away from my traditional wood tools now that I have these like stainless steel ones. I like these a lot better. So you have different shapes, different shapes and different heads. Let's see if it'll focus. There you go. So you got different heads that you can use to shape and do different kinds of textures and stuff like that. So with this one here, I kind of add texture to the ground, and that's what we're gonna do now. And I just kind of poke around at the ground and kind of give it that look. And then of course, once you get to the rocks, you can start shaping those rocks however you want to, and kind of give them detail. You could change the size of it. You could add a little bit of detail here and there, and kind of make it look like rocks rather than just organic or non-organic pieces of clay. And that's the idea here. You kind of shape out the rocks so they look a bit more natural. Kind of add little specks here and there, maybe a couple of divots like that. I mean, it's all up to you. You leave it up to your imagination how you want to do this. Also, another tool that I used was like a towel. You could use a towel, or you could even use the material that you found outside and kind of do this to the surface. So what you want to do is you want to have a combination of things so that you don't have the same pattern repeated. So for instance, if I was to use this, you get the same shape, and that works good if you're working on like feathers or something like that. But you want to kind of break that up a little bit with multiple tools. And with this particular one, you know, I just go around and twist it and turn it. I kind of twist it and turn it until it starts giving the desired effect. So so yeah, you know, you could do small gashes or imperfections in the ground, because of course the ground is imperfect. And yeah, so I just go through the tools, kind of see what I want, and then start shaping everything to kind of give it that, you know, give it that look. And you know, again, you can do different indentations, but as you can see, it's starting to create the same pattern over and over, and that just doesn't look natural. So you can go ahead and, you know, use other things to kind of create that, and, you know, stamp it out and give the ground that look. So it's a mixture of things when you're doing this sort of stuff here. And just kind of take your time, you know, work with it. If you don't worry too much about messing up, because you can always go back and redo it and add more clay if you need to, or remove clay and stuff like that. So, you know, don't worry too much about, like, oh man, I messed up, you know, or this doesn't look natural. Like, that's what you want to do. So photo reference, of course, is very important for when you're doing this sort of stuff. I have pictures here on my computer that I'm looking at of river rocks and just forest floors and things like that, and it kind of helps me. It helps me form the shapes that I want. And you know, of course, like, some rocks are round, some are rectangular. You know, some are flat on the side, and you could, you know, this clay is pliable enough to where you can kind of move it around the way that you want to, and make it look as natural as possible. So that's the idea of modeling using the Sculpey, and it's pretty forgiving. I mean, Sculpey, like I said, it's pretty forgiving. It's easy to make things look this way, look natural, and kind of, you know, you just keep working the clay. And it's the same thing whether you're working on a human figure or a doll or a weapon or anything like that. You just, you know, you look at your photo reference and you just go from there. I want to flatten these a little bit more. Yeah, that'll work. And as you can see, I'm just leaving my fingerprints all over this place, all over the clay. But that's okay, because like I said, you could use the Q-tips, and you could use the rubbing alcohol to kind of smooth whatever needs smoothing. So it's very forgiving. This clay is very, very forgiving. There we go. That's good. I like using the tree branches, because it adds like it adds a really neat texture to the clay, and kind of makes it look really, really natural without having a repeatable pattern. And then, you know, flatten it wherever it needs flattening, and just keep going from there, you know. Turn the tool every once in a while so you get a different pattern. don't press too hard, because then you start losing the grooves that you've created with the clay while you were rolling it out. But that's kind of the idea there. You could also use a hard sponge, like maybe a dish cleaning sponge, or a Brillo pad. All kinds of different things you can use to kind of create what you want to create. There's some holes in the ground that maybe somebody was on this trail before and they stepped in there and they made marks. Maybe an animal went through or something. So you kind of want to like create the illusion of an outdoor environment. And over here on this rock, I dinged it with the branch, and that's it. It's fixed. I really love using Scopy just because of that. It's like it's not a problem at all. See right there, there's a divot on the rock, so we just blended it. And over here on this side, I kind of pushed down some of the clay, and it didn't look too natural, so I'm just adjusting that. And rocks have little scratches and bumps and things like that. I'm curious if you guys have ever used Scopy, and if you have, leave me a comment. Leave me a comment of what it was that you used it on. What did you create? I know a lot of people will do jewelry, a lot of jewelry molding or designing on the clay, and then cast it in metals, which is kind of cool. I've seen that. And right now I'm just kind of, giving my rocks a bit more shape. Adding a couple scrapes and bumps and scratches to the surface. And as you can see, this work kind of goes fairly fast, which is pretty neat. But for the most part, that's what we got. You can see we added a lot of texture to that, and it's ready to bake. So with the magic of television. So the before I go into that, I'm thinking of putting pieces of logs like that, and then I also picked up some branches from my oak tree outside, and I was thinking of kind of placing them around to give something more, to add something more to it. So I'll just mark certain places that I want some trees to be in, and that's all ready to go. So at this point, what you would do is you would put it, you would set your oven 275 or 270 is where I bake at, but basically follow the instructions that are on the box, and then just bake it, let it sit overnight, and then you can go ahead and prime it using just a primer or filler spray paint. And through the magic of television, like I mentioned before, I've already baked and primed my my surface. So you could see some differences. Those are the holes for the trees, but you could see some differences between the both of them. I kind of added a bit more rocks and stuff like that to that one than I did to this one, but it's basically the same concept. It's the same idea. You can see all of the different ground texture that we added. You could see where I used ash to mark his placement, and then these holes are where I want to put some trees. And just to kind of show you that it is the same polymer clay, all I did is just prime it with a can of spray paint. So this one's ready to go. it's ready for the next step, and that would be to start painting the ground using acrylic paints. So we're gonna get ready for that. And you can, like I said, you could make so many different kinds of stands for these pops. Like if you want it, if you want it ash to stand on a rock or something, you could definitely do that. Or just all kinds of different things. But for this particular case, he's going to be standing right here, just like that. And I'll probably put a piece of double-sided tape on his feet, and then just kind of keep him there. But that's the base that I created for this little guy. So we can start working with that. And as you can see, this is the this is the bottom part of the tray, and it fits in there just perfect. And Ash will be hiding in here just like that, and then of course the case will go right on top of him there. So once we're done painting it, I'm gonna give it a clear coat, and he'll be ready to go. And it's a neat display. It's a kind of a cool way to display your pops. If you're really crafty, you could make your own. If not, I do these for people who have their pops and stuff like that and want me to customize their pops. So they would give me a pop, they would tell me what they want, I make all the changes to it, I create these stands for people, and I mean, it's kind of neat because you could just kind of display it as is. You can maybe have this on a shelf or something like that, and he's just kind of hanging out. So I know that some of my clients, they like to just display it like that. They take it out of the box or whatever, or they buy these plastic boxes and do this sort of stuff to them. So, but yeah, we're gonna go ahead and use the same kinds of acrylics on this. It's not that big of a project. If it was for a client, of course I would use better acrylic paints. But for me, and just to show what we're doing on the live stream, we're gonna be using these kinds of paints. Hey, what's up? Hola, Trace. What'd you say? Oh, I didn't read it. Sorry. Hey man, sorry we missed most of the live stream. Oh, it's all good. It's okay. You didn't miss much. Actually, I had a little bit of problems starting off today, but you didn't miss much. Basically, I showed the modeling of the stand for the pop, and then of course this one's already baked and primed, so we're gonna go ahead and start painting that. Of course, once the stream is done, you can go back and kind of watch the beginning. But yeah, man, welcome. I hope you guys are doing good. You had a wonderful week. I'm hoping you had a good week. Everything good? Oh, awesome. Awesome. Hello, Leanne. Cool. So yeah, these of course they're very viscous. They move around a lot. They have a lot of water. So you got to shake them up and kind of get them all ready. Oh, mine was great, man. It was great. Great Valentine's Day. Got some nice gifts. Got to spend time with, of course, my wife and the kids. We had a good time. Hopefully you guys did too. Had a good time on Valentine's. And this process right here is kind of the same as we did before. We just kind of dirty things up. We just want coverage right now. Right now I'm not really concerned with all the bumps and scratches. I just kind of want coverage. So everything the same. Yep, Valentine's Day was awesome. Of course. Ooh. Well, happy Valentine's Day then. Yeah, it's difficult, man. It's like everybody's working. It's like it makes for a long week, and uh, you can't really do the things that you want to until you're off. But yeah, I appreciate you guys are spending your Valentine's Day here with me. That's pretty awesome, and I wish you a very happy Valentine's Day to both of you. I had a few friends that were gonna join the chat, but they got complicated, and I know that just like myself, I'll have family in town, and they have family in town, so they're entertaining, and they couldn't really make it. So I'm kind of flying solo tonight. Have you guys ever done stuff like this? I'm curious to know. There we go. Yeah, yeah, I'm curious to know if you guys have ever seen this before or have done this yourselves. I don't know. I've seen some people do some custom stands and stuff like that, but I don't know if they've kind of taken this approach to it. I don't know if it's the same, but let's see. Oh, cool. So you got a DIY pop. Who should we make it? Any suggestions? Well, I mean, I'm definitely gonna go with Bob Ross. That's gonna be the ongoing joke forever. I don't know. I don't know. Like, is it for yourselves? Like, are you guys sharing the pop or like there? It's actually it's really interesting because the DIY pops and stuff like that. Like mine, I'm working on a zombie one. Like this is my zombie. This is my zombie DIY. Lazaro Bob Ross. That would be funny. But yeah, like they're hard to come by now because you used to be able to get these at Walgreens and stuff like that. And for my zombie, they only had a female one, so I'm like, ah, I gotta like, you know, Dremel all the female parts out. You know, basically, because I wanted to be a male figure, but I couldn't find one. So, and you could order them online, and they take a while. But I kind of wanted to jump onto this project right away, and then I got complicated, and I had to put it away anyway. So, but yeah, you can turn these little guys into anything. They're very versatile. I like them. I'm gonna use the blow dryer real quick to kind of dry it up. But yeah, it's pretty cool. They're just for some reason they're just getting harder and harder to find in stores. So you have to like order them online. But yeah, it'd be kind of cool. You guys make your own. I want to see it. So you gotta film it or take photos. This stuff dries like so fast. It's crazy. I've been wanting to do some myself, so I might try next time to get some done. Oh yeah, yeah, that'd be cool, man. Like I said, I want to see it. So it's like, if you, I don't know, if you gotta take pictures or do something, figure it out. And of course, if if you guys need my help in anything, let me know. Just shoot me an email or leave me a comment or something like that, and I'll definitely help you with the DIY. Because I do quite a lot of the DIY pops for people. Alright, so the black, I don't want to go too crazy with it. As a matter of fact, I'm using it as a filler more than anything. So I'm gonna give this a quick like a quick brushing, and then kind of wet it down and wipe away. Wipe away. That might have too much black, really. But I want this to go into all the nooks and crannies. It's funny because you can see the imprint of like made in China from the pop figure. For this particular one, I used original Sculpey. I think it's like, I don't know, maybe like $10 for a pound. But that's usually what I buy. I don't go too crazy. Yeah, I don't go too crazy with it. I usually buy a pound and uh-oh. No. Alright, so it's starting to rub off. That's what I was afraid of. With regular acrylics, you don't run into this problem. But it's okay, not a big deal. I just want to fill in those areas. But yeah, I use original Sculpey. I also use the other polymer for like action figures and stuff like that. But it's this stuff here. Original Sculpey. Let's see if that's in frame. Yeah. So this is what I use. It's 1 pound, and it varies. Like it could be anywhere from like $8 to $10 depending on where you buy it. But this is the best. It's usually the best, and especially for the DIY. For the DIY pops, because this is my DIY here, and you could see where I added some clay to the body, and then I took the Dremel to it to kind of de-stress everything. But it's really, really cool, and it cooks easy. You can use it for anything, jewelry and all kinds of stuff. Alright, so let's go back with the brown, since it kind of wiped a lot of it off. Whoopsie! I'm a mess. But yeah, and you can find this stuff anywhere. I know they have it at Michael's. They have it at Michael's. Everywhere. Walmart. You can get Sculpey. So it's really really easy to find. So here I'm using a bit of a dabbing motion to kind of spread the paint around, and I don't lose the bottom half of the stuff that I did. And then once this dries, I'm going to hit it with a lighter brown to kind of bring out the contrast. And once that's done, then I can go ahead and clear coat it, and it'll be ready to go. So cool. Yeah, make sure, I don't know if you use the app or not, but Michael's has an app, and you could get the 40% off discounts and stuff like that. Like, there's always a coupon for Michael's. So make sure you take advantage of that. I know I do. Because, yeah, as you know, art supplies are expensive. In one of my vlogs, I kind of talked a little bit about that. Where I was asked one time at a show, like, well, why is all this stuff so expensive? Why why do artists charge so much? And you'd be surprised. The true, honest answer to that is, I've never bought something full price at Michael. Yeah, dude, I hear you. But yeah, I was asked at a show, why do artists charge so much, and this and that, whatever. But tell you honestly, it's not cheap. It's not cheap. I can't tell you how many times someone bought a print from me or some kind of artwork, and they paid for the artwork, and when they got to purchasing the frames, they're going to get the frame for it, and they're like, wow, you're really cheap compared to the frames. But yeah, that does tend to happen. you know, of course, art supplies are expensive. Framing is expensive, and yeah, you know, that cost has to come from somewhere. It has to go somewhere. But a lot of the times when I create a piece of artwork and someone wants it framed, then, you know, of course, I'll tell them, hey, this is how much it costs, and they get the frame and the materials at cost, and then of course pay for my labor. But yeah, it's not cheap. I encourage anybody who who doesn't believe me to go to Michael's and have a little look around. And they tend to be like the cheapest too, because there's a lot of art stores that are way more expensive. I know Hobby Lobby can be slightly more expensive. Joanne Fabrics. You have also Pearls. I don't know if Pearls is still around uh, as far as physical stores go, but I know that they do have online stores. And also Blix. I mean, Blix is expensive too. You get a set of markers there, it's gonna set you back. So yeah, this sort of stuff is not cheap. Not cheap. Hopefully this is not making too much noise. I get all excited. I'm like, sweet, they have a sale. But then at the same time, it's like you buy a lot of materials, you know? Because it's like, let's say they have a sale on canvases. You know, you don't just go in and buy like one or two canvases. You buy like, you know, 10 canvases or paper or markers or paints or anything like that, you know? Yeah, it saves you a lot. And that's nothing. I mean, when you go into cosplay, it's even more expensive. Because you have different levels of cosplay. You have like, you know, DIY people like me that, well, I mean, I turned my DIY into a profession, but I mean, like people that are just cosplaying for fun and stuff like that, that can get pricey. But then when you start ordering custom pieces from someone like me, you know, there's molding materials, there's casting materials, there's paint, there's, you know, sometimes leather, sometimes different kinds of fabrics and stuff like that. So it can become really expensive. You try to stay DIY? Yeah. I mean, definitely. And there's a couple of people that I watch online, like Punish Props, and also, oh darn, his name is now escaping me, but he's done a lot of stuff too. And yeah, you see the process and you see the materials, and it costs a lot of money, but it's well worth it for a good piece of cosplay. I mean, if, you know, you're hiring a professional to do it, and it turns out really really good. So it's worth the money. It's worth the investment. You know, it's definitely worth the investment. Different places for different. Oh yeah, all of it. I mean, there's definitely, you know, unless it's hard, I don't know how. Yes, of course. Yeah, I mean, I do it too. You know, there's some things that are either too time consuming or too difficult for my skill level, and I'll buy it. You know, I'll definitely commission someone to do it for me, the same way someone would commission me. You know, and it's like I have no problem with that at all. I mean, it's definitely a skill set that you have to acquire, that you have to learn, um, that you have to learn as you go along. It's not like you wake up knowing how to, you know, how to create all these things. So it's definitely a learning process. There's a lot of great videos out there. Oh, Volpin Props. Volpin Props was the other person I was trying to remember. But anyways, they started out the same way. They started out DIY in their own garage, and then they created businesses and stuff like that. So like I create props to a certain degree. I create custom pieces and stuff like that, but nothing shaking up this paint. But you know, nothing too elaborate. Oh, pardon me. Nothing too elaborate or crazy. But I can, I can do certain things. And yeah, all of that stuff is expensive. Any cosplayer, you ask them and it's going to cost money. Especially the higher end, really pro looking stuff. Like, yeah. All right, so going back to this, I already have a nice grimy looking surface. Kind of looks like dirt. And then when I add, the logs and stuff like that, it'll look kind of cool. Those are all going to be glued into place. And it'll look really neat. So I'll probably dirty these up a little bit, because you know how they kind of look clean and stuff. But I could do that with my fingers. You just pick up some and just kind of dirty it up. Make it look old. But what we're going to do next is we're going to pop out some color, some highlights and stuff like that. And you do that with a dry brush. So this is a brush that I cut down. It was actually a longer flat brush, and I cut it down so that I could do like dry. You could hear it. Like, you could hear how hard and rough that is. But usually this is what I use for dry brushing. So I'll take a small amount, really small amount. And what I'll do is I have like, an art rag or whatever, and kind of rub it on that. And then just do like this. See that? And it brings out like the highlights and everything. So I don't do it on the entire surface, but I just do it on things that I want to kind of highlight. See this rock right here? And a little bit on the ground. And that's going to create a contrast between the actual like dark recessed areas versus the raised up areas. But yeah, I'll probably do, because I know it comes up from time to time, but I'll probably do a live stream where I talk about that sort of stuff. The expenses and the proper way to charge your clients and stuff like that. Because I mean, yeah, art supplies are expensive, but at least me personally, I don't feel like you should profit off of that. Like, if a canvas costs $7, charge them the $7. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to like add more to it, So I never do. The big private commission. The big private commission. My client had to buy some materials for it. Oh, thanks. Yeah, I might do that. I might, like I said, I think it's interesting. It's an interesting topic to cover. But yeah, my client had to actually buy some materials to get the commission done, and I just found the cheapest materials that I know I could work with, and I sent her all the information, and she purchased everything, and then I went to work. But I certainly didn't, overcharge or for the materials that we needed to get the commission done, because in my mind I'm like, man, she was cool enough to select me to do the commission, and I'm really, really honored. And I'm getting paid for it. Everything's good. Everything's good. I'm not losing sleep over it. So there's really no reason why a client should have to cover or endure those kinds of costs. We do. We go to Michael's and cringe. But I kind of feel like that's all part of the game, We are artists, so that's what we go through. And I mean, it's the same. It's the same in any industry, really. Any industry is going to be the same. You know, let's say you're making a movie. Yeah, you got to pay for the special effects and pay for the lights and the equipment and the people and everything. So it's like there's a cost to that, and it's no different when you're doing art. It's like, but yeah, your client should not have to endure that. That's just again, that's just me. You do what you want. Some people are like, well, screw that. They're paying for everything. And I don't know. I don't like that. All right, so enough of that. So there it is. I brought out some highlights and stuff like that, and we started off, of course, using a single brown color that gave us the coverage. We had a little oops because doing the rubbing, it actually took off some of the paint. And then we watered down the black to go into all of the recessed areas of the piece. And then we dry brushed with the light color or the highlight color to give us that the highlight look. So that's pretty much it. That's the stand. And if we wanted to, we could put it. If we wanted to, we could put it on here and put Ash in his place. And again, I'm going to be using double-sided tape so that he stays in place. But there's that. I'll be gluing that, or hot gluing that into place. That'll go back there. And then these small little branches, from my oak tree, they'll go right into these recesses that I've made earlier, and those will be glued in. I'll see if I just place one in there. There we go. To kind of give the illusion of a forest as he's there. Let's see. Actually, this one's a bit smaller. So that's kind of the idea that we're going with. I'm gonna see if I can move the camera, but yeah, all of these will be put into place, but I have to clear coat it first to kind of make sure that's all tied in. Come on. Actually, let's see, because I really want you guys to see the effect of this thing. So let me see if I just temporarily put some tape on them. And kind of show you before we sign off. So yeah, I'm just putting a small piece of tape on there. I don't even know if it's going to stick, but we will try. All right. And I'll carefully put this on. I want to be able to show it to you guys what it'll look like as a final. Alright, I'm going to flip the camera real quick. Here we go. Alright. Hello, everybody. So, of course, there's a couple things that I got to do. I got to hot glue the branches that I got from outside, and of course I got these smaller branches also from my oak tree outside, and then put the lid on top. But my hands are all like messed up with the clay and stuff like that, so I don't want to leave fingerprints on the box, so of course I'll polish that up. But this is kind of to give you an idea of what it would look like once it's all said and done. You have, let's see, hold on just one second. And this is what I like to do with my pops. You may like to just keep them in the box, but this is the box that Ash came in. And just to kind of give you an idea, this is he's gonna fall. This is what I did with Ash. So there's like little trees in there and stuff like that. And if I was to, you can kind of see the bottom. I know it's reflecting off of the case, but you kind of get the idea of what it is. You could also put like a paper background of like maybe the cabin or more trees and stuff like that. But that's kind of the idea that we're going for, and all of that with just an $8 pop and a $7 box. Some clay, some acrylics, some stuff from the yard. I mean, it's pretty neat. So I like to, like I said, I like to display my pops this way, and yeah. So it's kind of neat, Thank you guys. Yeah, thank you. I mean, it's different, It's kind of different, and I know that some people like to modify these boxes too. They'll add certain designs to the plastic, or they'll kind of paint on top of the already design. But I don't know. I kind of like to mix it up a little bit, and so there you have it. We did it, guys. We did it. So yeah, like I said, if you're making your own pop, or you're interested in this sort of stuff, and this is the first time that you see my video, I think you should stick around and kind of ask me whatever questions you need to ask, and yeah, I'm here to help. I'm here to help other artists. I'm here to help other DIY people. Of course, what's that? Get it outside of the box. Yeah, you gotta think outside of the box, guys. But yeah, like I said, I usually keep my pops outside of the boxes and stuff like that. Like, I have Star Trek pops that I enjoy, and they're over by my bedside, and I kind of look at them, and they're kind of neat. So if you guys remember from the previous one, then you can see that we made some pretty drastic changes. Oh, hold on. Let's see. Trace and I are doing our best to make your live stream. Oh yeah, absolutely. No, I know you guys. Like, Friday's your only day off or something like that. But I truly appreciate you guys hanging out. And again, it's like, if you miss it, it's not a big deal. I certainly won't be upset. I know that you guys will be here in and out and stuff like that. So yeah, yeah. But if you know anybody else that's kind of interested in this sort of stuff, yeah, invite them in, definitely. And we can do cool projects just like this one. We can do cool projects just like this one. See, that's so neat. It already looks like really awesome. So I'm excited about that. And then, of course, next week we will be diving into the Skyrim project, just like I mentioned. This is kind of my template, what I'm using, and we'll be doing some more. Modeling, and we're gonna be doing some molding using the Umu 25. We'll also be using resin to create the positive side of the Skyrim shields, and of course that's gonna serve as our cup holders. And yeah, we'll go from there. So I'm gonna have some blanks available. So if anybody wants to create their own emblem or their own Skyrim related thing, I will definitely have those up on the store. So other than that, like I said, I am going to continue finishing this little project off. I'll take photos and I'll put it up on Instagram. And then I am going to have some yummy dinner. I heard the delivery guy just bring the food that we had ordered. So we're going to have dinner. And then hopefully carry on to an awesome weekend. I'm going to continue on with my private commission and a few other commissions that have come in that are really interesting. And I'm hoping I could show them on the live stream. But if not, then, we'll have other projects that we can do. But yeah, like I said, I always truly appreciate you guys hanging out with me and being in the live stream and like I said, I want to kind of keep it all reciprocal. So if you guys have some really cool stuff that you're showing, let me know, because I want to go ahead and get a lot of eyes on that. I know that you guys been posting on Instagram, along with a lot of my other artist friends who have been posting on Instagram. I'm still doing a weekly sketch, so a sketch of the week on Instagram. That's up there as well. Live stream on Fridays, art videos, and lots of cool stuff. So as always, thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking, commenting, all the chats. It's all truly amazing, and it's really made the goal of creating a live stream on my channel a great success and a dream come true. And I'm just happy that I can share all of these projects with you all. So with that said, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. It's a long one. Maybe you're working, maybe you're not, but hopefully you get to enjoy it with your loved ones, with your friends, and super awesome projects just like this. So again, good night, and we'll see you next time. We'll see you next time. Adios. Bye. We'll see you next time. Hail to the king, baby. Hail to the king. Alright, we'll see you. Bye.